booktube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and yes, I have another book haul for you guys and an update for you guys. I gotta say though, whenever I do these and I do like 3 or 4 in a month book hauls, I always wonder if there are any of you who watch me who judge me for going to the bookstore a lot. But I mean, and I know that there are people out there in the internet, internet ether or the YouTube ether or whatever, who think BookTube is just full of people that just buy books and don't actually read them, which is BS. But but at the same time, I kind of get where that interpretation might be, especially when you have someone like me who's constantly book shopping. But reading buying books is my hobby, and of course it shouldn't matter how I spend my. There's only how I spend my money. The only people should matter are myself, and my family members who are there for me, and I live at home, and my parents are still take care of me at times. Make sure I'm, and so those are the only people that should matter. And if I ever get married, my spouse, it should matter to them. If I live with someone else, because of course, if I have a roommate, then I'm gonna have to, do my part in paying the bills and stuff like that for our apartment. And if I live with my sister, I'll still want to do my part. But anyway, I do worry. I do think about, are people thinking that about me? But of course, the bookstore I go to most often is like 15-minute walk. And like I said, the most expensive book I bought is like $4, That's there are books that are like, special prices. Like, probably the most expensive would be $10. But that's, if you get a certain book, like a special edition or a unique find or something, or like one of those big, coffee table books. And there actually are some on my Amazon wish list for the artwork of Lord of the Rings and / Tolkien, and there's one with the artwork of Van Gogh and all that. But I don't buy those. If I might buy them on Thrift Books. But although that hasn't really happened, I have thought about it though, because that would be a way to get it cheaper. If I wanted to get like the artwork of Middle Earth. But but I never get it. The only reason I might spend $12 or $16 at that bookstore is because I got more than one book. In fact, more than 2 books. Then yeah, I will spend like 12. But that's the beauty of used bookstores. Like if you go to a Books a Million, like with a Books a Million, I can only, or Barnes Noble, and probably when Borders was still around, I could only get one book for $20 if I, for 20 bucks or close to $20. At least with a used bookstore, you can get multiple books, and the most you'll spend is like $16. It depends on their price, of course, their price range. But for me, the most I've spent there is $16. So yeah, I do feel a little, so long story short, I gotta admit, I feel a little self-conscious about this. But it's something, something that I can share with you guys. And also, I want to keep you updated. And I know I'm not the only one, I know there's another great channel who does a lot of used book shopping is Steve Donahue. And which he's a great channel, by the way. He reads a lot of nonfiction and especially biographies. He likes history. He likes romances. He's a really fun channel, and it's also really fun to see his little bean. That little guy, that little furball is so cute. And he sounds like a very smart guy too. Which of course, if you read, I'm assuming you are really smart. So I think he's a great channel if you're interested. Steve Donahue. Maybe I'll post the link to his channel, which I feel like I should do that more often, like post links to, because I mention a lot of channels that I like. I just, I get lazy. But But anyway, so let's talk about first. Let me update you guys, and then I'll show you the books I bought. Oh, and to be fair, there was also a book sale, for there was Booktoberfest. So there was a big sale. You can get multiple books for $2 or $1. But so I'll show you those in a minute. But first, let's update you guys. So, I'll just hold these in my lap. So first, I decided to go ahead and start reading the saga Blackwater. I do have a little bit more to say. Like, the first part of the book was, like, the introduction, I guess the prologue, although it was called the introduction, was, a flood just happened in this town, Perdido, Alabama, this giant flood. So there's like a lake of water, like the whole place is filled, the whole road is filled with water, and these two guys, Oscar Kasky and his servant Bray, I think that's what his name is, they're trying to check things out and see how bad the damage is, and they get to this one hotel where there's this mysterious woman that sitting in the hotel room, just sitting there, probably waiting to be seeing if anyone's gonna find her and rescue her. And right away, Bray's a little wary of her, a little scared, nervous around her, a little uncertain about her. But Oscar immediately likes, oh, she's this poor, helpless young woman. We should help her. And they decide to take her back. And Bray ends up having to go back and get her luggages, which he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to have to go back in the hotel, because, I think he's, doesn't want to go in there because he feels like it's dangerous, or he's scared of something, I don't know. And then and so from there, the first chapter, we are at the local church where everybody is camping out while the flood's going on, and we meet the rest of Oscar's family. I think they call her sister, so I'm guessing she is his sister, and his mom, and they're very concerned where Oscar and Bray are. So I still haven't read a lot, but I kind of been it's the only, I've been reading it since I'm reading it on my Kindle. I either read it when I'm in the car, or I'm reading it while I'm in, before I go to sleep. And unfortunately, I ended up falling asleep. And these are kind of long chapters. And according to the preface, talks about where the author talks about his inspiration, in where another writer talks about it, talks about the book and stuff like that. And he did mention that they were actually originally novellas put into, in individual books, and then they got put together into this big book. But I don't have a lot to say about Blackwater so far. I mean, I'm definitely interested and intrigued by it. I love stories about small towns, whether it's a small northern town or a small southern town, where everybody knows everybody, everyone knows everybody's business, and they have their own kind of law and their own rules, how they do things and what they believe in. Especially in a horror book, when eventually things are gonna go wrong. Like Stephen King, that's another one of the things that Stephen King is really good at, is small towns. I feel like, and the characters of those small towns. And also I've read a few horror books, like Crow Hollow is another one of those. That was really fun. That one kind of made me think a little bit of Stephen King. Like, I could see him writing something like Crow Hollow. Because Billy Coffey was the author of Crow Hollow. That one was really good. That one I read, was it last year or 2022? It might have been last year, yeah, it might have been in 2023, I think, when I read that one, I think. Was it the Imaginary Friend? Is that what it was? By Stephen Chbosky. That one was really good too. And that also had a small town vibe to it, with religion thrown in there, like a little good versus evil ass plot. And I think some other ones that were kind of small town. Of course, there's all the Stephen King ones that are small towns, like Needful Things and Salem's Lot and all those. But yeah, I like small town stories, so I'm probably gonna enjoy this. Okay, and I haven't picked up Friendly Parsonage. I might read a little bit of that today, but I'm kind of want to prioritize reading, seeing if I could finally finish John Adams by David McCullough. So, one of the books, you guys, I think I already showed you guys the Thomas Jefferson A Life book. I don't know if I showed you. I think I did. I got that one, and then there's another biography I have on a historical figure as well that's related to a president, not a president, but part of the family of a president, and more specifically, a wife of a president. I got that one as well. So, I was like, let me just get to this one and finally finish it. And I finally made it to the last part. Like, the part 2 ended with Adams and his wife in London. And he's trying to form a trade agreement, a trading relationship with England. And England's not having it. King George's like, nope, we're not going to make this easy for you. You ditched us. You ran away from home. So now we're gonna, okay, well, and I think they're trying to form, I don't know if it's the peace treaty, the Paris treaty they're referring to, or maybe he's talking about the loans they asked from the Dutch. But King George III is like, okay, we'll fulfill our end of the bargain if you fulfill your end and pay your debts to us, or something like that. I don't remember why. There's a lot of information in this. I don't remember everything, all the facts. But yeah, and things aren't going that great for Jefferson in France either. But now they finally, after trying, they end up they finally are heading back to America, and Adams is going to be the vice president. And his daughter, Nabby, I think she's the one who just got married. She was gonna marry someone else back in America, but then she called off that and is married this other guy who I think he's a Brit. I don't know if he's actually a British or not, but yeah, she married a different guy than the one she was with before her and her mom came to visit her dad. So we got that part, and they just had their first grandchild. Which I think is really sweet because they're both excited. And Abigail is so, she's communicating and wrote letters to Jefferson, although after they had a disagreement about what is going on in America, which was, while they were gone, there are still rebellious farmers, wanting to be fair pay and, rebelling against the government. And Jefferson is someone who's like, yeah, we need to shake things up a little bit. Maybe they need to have wars, and it's good for us. It's healthy. Well, Abigail does not want that. She's like, no, I'm tired of this violence. I'm tired of these people fighting, and and I want it to stop. So that's the one major disagreement that they've had, and since then it has come between them, because Jefferson was really good friends with her. Well, funnily enough, he has a more complicated relationship with Adams. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. It's a very interesting relationship. There's respect and maybe, admiration between the two of them, but there's also, Jefferson has no problem complaining about Adams's faults to Madison, his other friend. In fact, Hamilton particularly focuses more on the Jefferson and Madison relationship than, this one focuses more on the Adams-Jefferson relationship, which, yeah, makes sense in this case because it's about Adams. So of course it's going to focus on his relationship with Jefferson more. but it's always, when I'm reading these biographies, I feel like this is like I'm putting together a puzzle where I'm learning bits and pieces of the whole picture of the whole American Revolution by reading each president's part in it. Now, I think the only way I'll get, like, the average person that doesn't become a famous politician, the average person's point of view is reading some of those books that are, like, about the American Revolution generally, not about specific people that became very famous during the Revolution. I would be curious to read an actual nonfiction that talked about Benedict Arnold and what's her name? The woman who married Benedict Arnold's wife. I already forgot her name. Like, there was a book that was written about, was it Allison Pataki who wrote it? But the trader's wife is about, Peggy. Peggy's her name. Peggy, the woman who became Peggy Shippen, who became Peggy Arnold. And there's a fiction book called The Trader's Wife, and I want to say it's by Allison Pataki. About that whole her marrying him, and it was a way to manipulate things because she was a loyalist, and she was manipulating him to go back to their side. And she was also had a lover in Andre something. I cannot remember the guy's name, but he was. I remember actually in the spellbook of Katrina Fantassel, they reference him as a ghost that haunts Sleepy Hollow. Like, he died there, I guess. I don't know if that's true or not, but although the author, Alyssa Palum, she, did research on the various ghost stories in that, in Sleepy Hollow, or at least the towns around it. And, that was one of the ghost stories that she researched. So she puts it in the book as one of the ghost stories that Katrina and all the villagers of Sleepy Hollow tell Ichabod. I do not remember his name, though. I know it's Andre something. But anyway, I would love a nonfiction about Peggy Arnold. I should look that up if there is one on her, because I would love to know if there's how accurate that book is, that The Trader's Wife is. But anyway, back to John Adams. So I read the London chapter and everything, the London section of the chapter, and that's where it ended, and then that part 2 ends with that chapter. So now we are in part 1 where, like I said, he is on his way back to America and is going to be the vice president. And I read a little bit of this morning of that chapter, and they do mention Hamilton in that one, and how he wasn't the biggest supporter of Adams. In fact, at least according to this book, he made sure that Adams would not get the presidency, that it made sure that George Washington would become president. Which, poor guy, he was so disappointed. He is so insecure. His ego is so fragile, I think. And, but he's the vice president. And actually I don't have a quote. I do have pages dog-eared so that maybe I can go through it one day and, mark, highlight, or underline, certain passages or quotes from Adams or something. But yeah, at one point he does say, I think it was in a letter to Jefferson, or maybe in a letter to one of his other friends, that he felt like the vice presidency did not suit him. But at the same time, that's the only job he wanted, because he felt like none of the other jobs were kind of beneath him. That's what he said, according to this book. So, yet now he's realizing, now that I am vice president, the job doesn't fit me either. And of course, we know that he's the second president, so he gets I feel bad for the guy because he wasn't very well liked. He's not charming, he's not charismatic, he's very quiet and reserved, seems kind of very shy, but he's very smart and a brilliant lawyer. But I know but I don't think he's going to do very well as president. I mean, I do think, or at least he's not a popular president. I don't know. Or at least back then, maybe he wasn't. I mean, I haven't gotten to that part yet, but, we'll see. I'm just going by, from what I've heard. And I still got the miniseries, which this cover is based off of the miniseries. The miniseries was adapted from this book. And then they came out with a adaptation tie-in edition, which is this one. So, and for me, I was just like, I'm just gonna, I don't care. It doesn't bother as much as I know other people, it bothers them, the tie-in edition, but deep down, I really don't care as much. I mean, I do, of course, appreciate an artist's artwork and their rendering the creative covers that people come up with, and even the ones that I don't love necessarily. But at the same time, like I said, I don't mind. If it's the one that I have, if it's the one that's available to me, then I will grab this one. The one with, even if it's a adaptation tie-in edition. Because I didn't want the hardback, and then the original hardback copy that I had was my brother-in-law's, and I wanted to get it back to him. So yeah, so I don't have a lot. I didn't get a lot read, and I'm someone who, I don't always, if I have to drink, if I'm eating or drinking something, I don't get a lot read. I try to, but I'm, gonna neglect, my drink is gonna get, my coffee's gonna get cold, and I'm worried about making sure I don't spill anything, but making sure I eat all my food, so I'm not the biggest fan of, I mean, if it's finger food, chips, or fruit, blueberries or grapes or something, or pretzels, or, or goldfish or something, then yeah, I'll be fine with that, but, plus I'm always worried about my posture, because when you're reading at a table or something, you're hunched over, unless you want to hold the book, which can, irritate my hands. So yeah, I don't always like reading when I'm eating or drinking, or even drinking. Unless I'm drinking something cold or something with a straw. But I usually drink coffee, so. But yeah, so far, I mean, I do like this. It's just sometimes I'm just not in the mood, and that's why it's taken me so long to read it. But I do want to finish it because I have other biographies to read as well. So now let's use that as a way to go into my current, what I purchased yesterday afternoon. Like I said, I only spent $2 each on these books. So I spent $6 on all these books. These 3 books, only 3. I still took to 3, but that's because there's, Ari's bookstore, but Given's bookshop is small anyway, and there's, and the selection isn't, there's not as much variety, or at least, it's, sometimes it takes me I browse for a long time. But let me go ahead and show you so this is the other biography of someone who's not a politician, but is a wife of a politician. This is John Adams' wife, Abigail Adams, in a biography about her. Which I'll have to look and see if this is the one because I remember someone saying what is the best book on Abigail Adams to get there, to read, but I'm wondering if it was a YA they mentioned. But this is John Adams' wife, so I want to read that one so I can read the book about his wife. Okay, I'm going to go and read the back. In this vivid new biography, okay, so it is a biography, I wasn't sure, of Abigail Adams, in the most illustrious woman of the founding era, Bancroft award-winning historian Woody Holton offers a sweeping reinterpretation of Adams' life story and of the woman's role in the creation of the Republic. Using previously overlooked documents from numerous archives, Abigail Adams shows that the wife of the second president of the United States was far more charismatic and influential than historians have realized. One of the finest writers of her age, Adams passionately campaigned for women's education, denounced sex discrimination, and matched wits not only with her brilliant husband, John, but with Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. When male patriots ignored her famous appeal to remember the ladies, she accomplished her own personal Declaration of Independence. Defying centuries of legislation that assigned married women's property to their husbands, she amassed a fortune in her own name. Adams' life story encapsulates the history of the founding era, for she defined herself in relation to the people she loved or hated. She was never neutral. A cast of characters that included her mother and sisters, Benjamin Franklin and James Lovell, her husband's body congressional colleagues, Phoebe Abdi, her father's former slave, her financially naive husband, and her son, John Quincy. At once epic and intimate, Abigail Adams sheds light on a complicated, fascinating woman, one of the most beloved figures of American history. Which to this day, I wish I had read this back when I was in middle school. I mean, I don't know if I could have. But I remember there was a project where we had to pick a famous historical figure and dress up like them, and we had like a display of a booth, or like kind of like a science project, but it's a history project, and we had to dress up like them and do a presentation. And for some reason I picked Abigail Adams at the time, which, I'm surprised, but maybe that might have been around the time when my dad was wanting to be in the play 1776 at our local theater. And he has always been an admirer of John Adams. And so I was like, I'm gonna do a project on his wife. And just to say, I wish I had done better, because I feel like my nerves got the best of me, and I feel like I didn't do a good presentation. I feel like I just kind of read the card. But I was also, I was also probably like 12 or 13 at the time when I did that, so. And I've like I said, I've always been a shy person. Even though, yes, I do this. But this, it's a little bit easier, because I don't see I don't see the people who are watching me. I don't see you guys. I don't interact directly to you guys, except for in the comment section. So that's why, even though I have said I'm shy, it's like this doesn't faze me as much, because I'm, talking to a camera. But anyway, yeah, I wish I had this book. I mean, I don't know if I could have read it at that age. Not that it looks... Oh, there's something in here. I wonder what this is. That's interesting. There's all these dates on here and stuff. That is very interesting. That's one of the cool things about used bookstores, is you on an occasion you might actually find some little rare find in the book, like a piece of paper with some stuff on it, or like, some kind of what is it, dedication or something in it, like or this book belonged to this person. Like, I remember one of the Ryan Reynolds movies I watched, I cannot remember, Definitely Maybe, the one where like he and his daughter is asking like the story of how he met her mother. And I'm wondering if that show, by the way, was inspired by this movie, because in her school, they gave them the talk about how babies are made and all that at a very young age. And she wants to ask a story about her parents, how her mom and dad met and everything. And he ends up telling her about them, but also telling about two of his other great loves. And one of the women he went to her place. She invited him in, and he noticed she had a huge collection of various editions of Jane Eyre, and he asked her about it, and she said that her dad, went on her birthday, the last time he was alive, he gave her this book with an inscription on it, a dedicated, inscription to her. And ever since then, she has tried to find that particular edition because she lost it at some point. And he actually does find it when he does find that one and gives it to her as a gift. So that scene, this thing made me think of it. How used bookstores, sometimes books will have like these either, a piece of paper with something on it or like something written in the book itself. So yeah, that is the Abigail Adams biography. And I also have, you guys have already seen it, but I don't know if it was earlier this year when I bought it or last year or like 2022 I might have bought it, but the Samuel Adams book, the Revolutionary Samuel Adams. And that's not exactly a biography. I don't know if that's an actual biography. Well, I guess it would be considered one about Samuel Adams, John Adams' cousin, and he was one of the other people that was very involved in the Revolution. He kind of got things started in Boston, kind of ignited the Bostonian spirit, So next is this, a Israel, My Beloved, an historical fiction. Well, it says historical. So I think it is fiction. And I'm gonna just read the back because I don't remember what it said. I read it when I bought it, but I don't remember what it said. It is just passed on in her life of Israel. It is just passed on in the life of Israel. Rich with promise, the young nation anticipates a golden future, yet in their confidence the chosen ones recklessly pursue a path that leads away from their nation's venerated past, and thus begins the nightmare. As Israel's sons and daughters are scattered across the globe, pursued by ruthless Grecian and Roman conquerors, bloodthirsty crusaders with sharp swords and empty hearts, and terrifying leaders of Hitler's Third Reich, the threads of the once proud nation continue to fray, yet amazingly another garment of hope and peace is being woven tightly together, never to be undone. So I think this is basically a saga about Israel and the people and all the horrible things that happened to them, and done in a fictional way. That's what it sounds like. And I've always loved stories about religion. Like, it takes a long time to read, and although this one doesn't seem that long, but it takes. Sometimes I have to be in the mood for it. I have mentioned that I do have Anne Rice's 2 Christian novels about Jesus and his youth and everything, that we had got from my grandma, but she ended up not reading them. She's not really a reader. I mean, she reads the Bible, but the only thing she's ever read that we gave her was the Left Behind series, because I've said this before that I gave her Sarah's Key and I left it to her because I figured she might find it interesting, and she ended up using it as something to put her mirror on, to stand her mirror on, which every time I see that just bugs me and I want to remove it, but I think she might notice that. So yeah, I'm definitely. Oh, this is a pronunciation guide. And of course, at the moment, I'm like, I want to read these books now. And actually, I don't know, but I feel like religion books feel very, like, wintry. But I don't know, maybe just historical fiction in general, but I'm thinking about, I'm looking and now I want to read it. And then the last book, okay, so This author originally, I decided I wasn't going to pursue any more by him because I wasn't sure about his writing style. Although this one doesn't look too bad writing-wise. It looks like a regular novel. Oh, I think I saw a piece of paper in this one too. But I had borrowed from the library once in, I think, 2022, was a one of those, I cannot remember what the edition is called. They're these big, huge black books, hardback books that have like one particular author's work in there in the library. It's a lot of their shorter works in a bind up, and I got it. It had Absalom, it's the author is Faulkner, and it had Absalom, As I Lay Dying, in that one, and some other ones. Those are the only ones, because those were the first two stories, and As I Lay Dying was, I read them in order, the order that they were in the book. And I was having trouble, so I was like, I'm not going to even bother, and I just don't know if I could ever do this author. Like, he is a very stream of consciousness, or at least in that collection it felt like it. And I decided, even at the time I saw this and decided I'm going to try again. A Light in August. I mean, this one might have been in there, too. I mean, I want to say there was a story called that had the title August in it. So this one might have been in there. But all I know about Faulkner is he's a southern gentleman. And let me go ahead. Light in August, a novel about hopeful perseverance, features some of Faulkner's most memorable characters. Guileless, dauntless Lena Grove in search of the father of her unborn child, Reverend Gale Hightower, plagued by visions, and Joe Christmas, a desperate enigmatic drifter consumed by his mixed ancestry. Okay, and here's a quote from Faulkner. Read everything. Trash, classics, good and bad. See how they do it. Just like a carpenter who works as an apprentice and studies the master. Read. You'll absorb it. Then write. If it is good, you'll find out. If it's not, throw it out the window. I love that quote. I'm gonna write that quote down. I'm gonna put that quote down. I like that one. Oh, I didn't know there was an Oxford, Mississippi. So he was born in 1897, raised in Oxford, Mississippi. And The Sound and the Fury, which I used to have that book. And he won the Nobel Prize in 1950. But he died in the 60s. So wherever this book was originally purchased, this copy of this book, the U.S. price was $15, and of course in Canada it's more expensive. But this is the Vintage International Edition. I don't know, this is another cover that I really like. This design. See, like with this here and the author's name, and then this and the typography of the title, and I like these. I like these editions. But yeah, so I'm kind of curious about this. I'm going to try Faulkner again and see what I think. Okay, so that is how things are going. I'm gonna, now that once I'm done filming, I do need to do some other chores, but I want to get to read. I want to make some progress on the family parsonage today, and then read some more of that John Adams biography, because I want to finally finish that, because I keep starting and making progress, but then I put it down, and I keep buying these biographies, and I haven't finished my very first one. At least our biographies of presidents, I should say, because my first one would probably be the Walt Disney biography, and I still haven't finished that one, but that one's longer and bigger than the John Adams one, so, but I do need to finish that one. I mean, maybe it's not, I have to look at the number of pages for both books and compare, see which one's longer. But that one, the Walt Disney bio by Neil Gabler, looks bigger than this one. Anyway, so as always, I would love to hear what you are currently reading right now. And I hope your October is going well, whether you celebrate Halloween or not. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe. If you haven't already, click the bell icon below if you want to be notified. No pressure. And I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. All right, bye!